now shift to Ghana. We're very lucky and fortunate to have with us two panelists, the country lead for the Ghana buy-in, Mr. Yusuf Abdullahi, and Rosamond Aful. She is a farmer from a western region of Ghana and has been an active participant in some of the multi-stakeholder engagement around climate change assessment. If you could please turn your cameras on, Yusuf and Rosamond, so that we can see you.
Yeah, can you see me?
I can see you. Thank you. Thank you, Yunus. We've heard quite a bit about your climate change assessment process in Ghana, and I was curious to hear your perspective on the value of this inclusive multi-stakeholder engagement process. How has that enriched the climate change assessment for Ghana in terms of the implications of climate change on agricultural development? Yunus?
Thank you very much, Michelina. And then Robert made a point and provided some background to Ghana's work. And Ghana, the policy link activities work with government of Ghana and key policy actors focused on 5 policy areas, including seed, fertilizer, access to credits, trade facilitation for agriculture sector, and climate change policy-related systems that this activity support with the stakeholders. So as part of our approach, as Robert did mention, we facilitate as not an actor, but an external entity that provide the platform, creates the opportunity for actors to really engage and collaborate. And we pride ourselves with using a facilitative leadership approach that focus on promoting evidence-informed policy making and inclusivity in Ghana in the policy process, both at the national level and at the subnational levels. And this was not different for the climate change work that we did, and as a policy activity that focus on inclusivity, we engage national level actors, both at individual level consultations to understand the state of play in terms of climate change policy issues, what are the constraints, and what actions that can be implemented to make the country, particularly in the agriculture sector, more climate resilient. And we did that by also doing a co-creation at the national level. And more importantly, we engage subnational actors, because typically in Ghana, it's very usual at the national level, stakeholders are engaged, but at the subnational level, that is where most of the climate change impacts and the effects are felt the most. Unfortunately, most of the time, the subnational level actors are not thoroughly engaged, and this is where we engage both national and at the subnational level. Because the impacts are more felt at that level, they were able to bring out perspectives that normally experts may miss out or may not understand the context. And this really was very helpful in terms of making sure that interventions that are co-created reflect the needs on the ground and address the issues on the ground. And this really, the Chilean and team really made the process more transparent and more relevant locally to addressing the climate change issues that we confronted in Ghana, particularly at the subnational level. But let me add a point on the fact that there was an issue about engagement at the national level. They were like, hey, we know the issues already. And sometimes they were a little bit hesitant in terms of the consultation. But at the subnational level, they were very eager and very engaged throughout the process. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing that. Shifting over to you, Rosamond. I mean, you are a famous farmer in Ghana. I think in 2022 you were voted best farmer in Western Ghana. I'm curious, you're busy. Why do you think that it's worth your time and effort to be in these to be part of this process? Why do you think your voice matters in the policy discourse?
Well, thank you so much for I'll call it a privilege and then the question. Well, I think I am here to represent the voice of the farmer. And as Eunice even said, in Ghana, a lot goes on at the national level. But we, those who are really the players on the ground, are not involved. And that is, I think, a partial way of solving the problem if we really want to deal with it. And then talking about climate change, it has a lot of factors. And then majority of that factors is human disruption of the carbon cycle. And then if we are talking about human factors contributed in climate change, and then farmers who are at the local level, who are busily doing activities that affect the climate, are not involved, then I think we are not really solving the problem. I think the farmer is one of the worst culprits when it comes to global warming and climate change. And as such, the farmer's voice is very important. The farmer needs to be there to know his contribution to climate change and also know how climate change is having an adverse effect on the farmer, on his activity. And at the same time, I think on such forums, it is an opportunity for the farmer to learn how to do new things, sustainable ways of being friendly to the planet. So the farmers' presence on such forums and then on such policy dialogues is very important. Yes, it's very important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm curious, what are your expectations by being part of this process? You know, are there any sort of specific, concrete policy actions that you are expecting?
Okay. For me, at the local level, there's a lot that we are expecting. Because when we are talking about climate change, I think basically it's about carbon emissions, and then for us, it's just about climate smart agri, since we are farmers. So I would limit my delivery on just these two: control of greenhouse gases, and then climate smart agri. With policies on the control of greenhouse gases, I would love to talk about just two things. That is rice cultivation in Ghana, and then responsible use of fertilizer. You know, when you come to Ghana, almost all our wetlands are being used to cultivate rice, and then there's no policy guidelines. We just find land that is suitable for rice, and then we are growing. Nobody educates the farmer on the fact that the water level that he's using to cultivate the rice even has an adverse effect on the climate. So we need policies. If you want to talk about controlling greenhouse gases, we need policies even in agri to show the farmer the sustainable way of doing what we are doing, of growing rice. We need education on how we can even take advantage of carbon exchange. A lot of farmers don't even know there is an opportunity like this. We are just busily growing our rice and eating it. But there is a lot that we are contributing to global warming that we are not aware. We can be taught on how we can do it sustainably and how we can even get extra income from carbon exchange. So that is one of the policies that I want the government to look at. I also want to talk about fertilizer application. You know, we cannot do farming without fertilizer application, and either chemical or organic, the effect is the same. Nitrate oxide is being emitted into the atmosphere to nitrogen fertilizer application. So we want the government to bring a policy on fertilizer application, or maybe on fertilizers that have optimum usage. Like, we don't have anything to guide us. We just cultivate, apply fertilizer. We don't even test the nutrients in the soil. We need an annual soil test for farmers. So the government should work on that so that we can know the percentage of the nitrogen, potassium levels in the soil before we start applying fertilizer. We also need education on even the application of it. Some just do broadcasting of the fertilizer. In effect, we are just wasting it. And at the end of the day, if we are just wasting it, it will be our resources that we are wasting. But at the end of the day, because we are applying them haphazardly, they get caught up in the atmosphere, causing global warming. So in terms of greenhouse gases control, these are the two areas that I want the government to look at. And my second point is also about climate smart agric. The youth in Ghana, we are no more interested in the indigenous farming again. We want something of technology. And the government has some programs. An example is Planting for Food and Jobs. That only concentrates farming with along the rainy season. But we want the government to really structure this policy again, to look at all year-round farming, where irrigational facilities will be provided, where technologies like mulching, plastic mulching, where we will combine nature with technology to make farming less strenuous for the youth and also very attractive. So these are the two policy lines that I want the government to look at. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your perspective and clearly having your voice in these multi-stakeholder forums is absolutely critical. So thank you, Eunice and Rosemont, for sharing your experience from Ghana.